Hey, it's Greg on here with maritimegardening.com. It's the end of September, beginning of October, and I thought I'd just do a little garden tour and show you what's going on here at this time of the year. We got hit by frost last week, so a lot of things have been sort of devastated. But that's what happens when you live in the north. So come have a look. Alright, so here we are, we're beginning at the beginning, and these are the permaculture beds that used to be compost bins that I grew squash in and trained up like this. These are about ready to be picked, I'm guessing. Look like they're ready to be picked. I don't know if they're ready to fall off yet. Close. Anyway, I don't know how many are here. I got squash all up in the grass up here. I'm not quite sure what's there, to tell you the truth. I'm gonna have to do I think I'll do a video where I do a squash hunt. That might even be the title of the video. That's definitely one right there. Nice big yellow guy. These are seeds I saved last year from some bizarre seed that I bought from the Ukraine a couple of years ago. Nice pumpkin. Big enough for a jack-o'-lantern, but unlike jack-o'-lantern pumpkins, they actually taste good. They taste like a I don't know, but like an acorn squash, I guess, would be a good analogy. Not bad. That's what I was looking for. I was looking for a squash that you can use for Halloween-y type things, but actually tastes good too, and that's one. And it's store. So I stored these in my garage last year, this particular variety. Just to give you a sense of the size, this one's about a foot long and maybe 10 inches wide. It's hard to tell. I'm gonna put my hand here for reference, right? I got a fairly large hand. I'm 6'4". Alright. I stuck them in my garage, and they didn't start to go off until around the end of February. Just putting them in a room that was 5 degrees Celsius. So that worked out great. So they're a great variety. Anyway, we had a frost, so as you can see from the leaves, right? They were about 3 or 4 days ago. This was a beautiful green leaf, and now it's disintegrated like someone took a blowtorch to it. That's frost, right? Squash can't handle frost at all. All those leaves, all that black stuff there was green a few days ago. Right, they're done. Done growing. Time to pick them. Parsnips are still trucking along just fine. No need to leave to harvest them. And these parsnips, the Vessi Seeds variety, my sponsor Vessi Seeds, have provided all my seeds this year. Thank you for that. They're doing great. And I can't wait to pick my Vessi Seeds parsnips and compare them to my own saved seeds parsnips, just to see the difference. Greatest competition of 2018. This garden here was beans. They are all destroyed. The beans planted in seaweed. The frost, beans and frost don't get along. This was my beet garden. I harvested them all last week. It's a little bit at the very end. There's some carrots. These are Swiss chard. I didn't pick them all. I left some on the ground, and it's good because it looks like we're going to get a break from frost this week. We're going to get another week of growing. I think the coldest temperature for the week coming up at night is going to be 6 degrees Celsius, so chances are good we're not going to get frost this week. We'll see. So more Swiss chard. We're going to have to, it's the Swiss chard. I'm going to show you later on what Swiss chard looks like when it gets hit by frost. Swiss chard really can't handle much frost. It can handle a little bit, but not too much. Anyway, I still have some to pick here. At the end here, that's that useless forage stuff, but got some really nice parsley here. I'm gonna have to harvest this and dry it. Parsley isn't bothered by frost in the slightest. So I got lots of nice Italian parsley here. That's all carrots. They're doing great. That's all kohlrabi and dead eggplants. I picked all my eggplant last week, the night before the frost, and boy, I gotta say, it's tough growing eggplant here. I've had a garden here since 2013 or 14, And this is the first year I got any sort of real yield from eggplants. And it's because I left them in as long as I possibly could, and I harvested them the day before the first frost. And I got maybe half a dozen eggplant. Now the plants are done. It's practically not worth your time here unless, like last summer we had a really, we had a late frost and then an early frost, but a very hot summer. And if we keep getting super hot summers like this, perhaps we can plant more eggplant and so on, but this is the first year I ever got anything out of an eggplant. So in terms of, is it worthwhile? I love eggplant, but it's such an iffy crop. I never plant too much because it's rare that I actually get anything out of my plants, just because it's so darn cold here, and we have such a the conditions just aren't favorable for it. And the reason I'm telling you about this, I'm not complaining or moaning or whining or anything like that. It's just you got to understand where you are and the limitations. You can only do so much with where you are. So things like eggplants and peppers, they're just tough to grow here, and it's not worth investing. In my opinion, it's not worth investing much energy into them. I always try to grow a couple. Maybe I usually plant about half a dozen, see what happens. But I don't get too phased if they fail, because it's just not a thing that's, the conditions here aren't ideal for it. You really need a greenhouse to grow them in any way. And that's just where I am. In this particular province, which isn't a particularly huge area geographically, there's other areas where those sorts of things don't grow so bad. It's just we don't get a lot of sun here. It's very foggy in the mornings, and even in the full summer, we really don't start getting like sun until squirrel just ran by. A lot of days we don't get any sun till noon because there's all this fog coming off the ocean. Anyway, the point, not to complain, is just to say, know your limitations. Grow what grows well. Things like parsley grows well here. Swiss chard grows well here. Parsnips grow unbelievably well here. So that's what you put your energy into, the things that grow well. And things that don't grow well, you try and you mess around and you do little experiments and see what happens, right? If you stumble across some amazing technique, run with it. Zucchini, done. Cucumbers, done. And I gotta say, my wife's happy that we're done, because I've been fermenting and pickling cucumbers for 2 months. And it sort of takes over the kitchen, I have to admit. And since I like the pickles and she doesn't, it's anyway, we're done. Time to take a break from that. And some of look, there's still some in here, right? But when they get this weird shape, they don't taste good anyway. They're really, these have been exposed to frost and stuff like that, so they're not worth harvesting. But on top of that, when they start getting a weird shape, they become bitter and they're just not as good. Right? These are like chicken food, or in my case, compost. I'll do a video about that. Last year I did a video where I took all my cucumbers and took all the trellises down, and I did a trench mulching thing. And people were like, "Oh my goodness, the soil! You've dug up your soil. You've killed everything." And look, when you do a trench mulch, you're only digging up the soil. All I did was I dug up the soil in the middle of the bed. Right? I made a trench in the middle of the bed, and I put all the plant debris in that hole, and then I put the soil back over top. You're not disturbing all the soil, just some of it. And I mean, look at the results. This garden was trench mulched, and this garden was trench mulched. Both of these kale gardens. These look like lousy gardens to you? They look pretty good to me, right? I got 2 beds of kale. I haven't bought kale since sometime in June, and I'm not gonna keep harvesting this right up until probably December. And almost every other week, this provides all the kale we could possibly need, and also enough surplus to freeze So we're probably going to be in the kale business without having to buy it well until March, maybe even later, depending on how industrious I am in preserving this. And I've done videos on how to do that if you go back into the past and have a look. And for those that were watching the video where, you know, I had all that frost, I mean, look at this kale now. Remember how it was sort of like, oh, it was frozen, right? This kale was frozen the morning we had that frost. It was just a few days ago, really. And now look at it, lush and green, right? Kale can take it. Especially this Siberian variety of kale. It just seems to be ideally suited to the conditions here. And these are like a lacinato variety. I mean, they're a nice kale and they're very pretty to look at, and so on. And they taste good. But I would say, I gotta say, these taste better, and they just grow better here. You can find Siberian kale, red Russian kale. Scotch curly kale does pretty well as well, but I find this one really outgrows just about everything. This Siberian kale, it's got the white stem like that. It really performs well here. And I mean, this kale was planted in like April. Right? People always ask me about fall crops. The ideal fall crop is something you plant in April and you keep picking until Christmas. And kale, especially this Siberian kale, is such a crop, right? I'm going to be picking this till Christmas. So that's an ideal fall crop. Healthy, good for you, easy to grow, self-maintaining, as long as you keep a mulch down. Haven't watered this since the middle of July. Haven't watered it at all. And it's healthy. I mean, look at that. Healthy as can be. Looks great. That little bean garden I had on the edge of this bed, for those that watch that video, blow-torched, done. And there was probably another bowl's worth of beans that I could have picked here that are now ruined, right? I just took a night off, didn't bother coming out. I said, oh, I should pick those beans. Oh, I'm so tired. And I'll do it tomorrow, and then frost, and then done. And I mean, you can't beat yourself up over those things. The whole point of having a garden is to relax and enjoy the food. Well, it's not the whole point, but my philosophy to gardening is that it should be relaxing. It should always be relaxing. So I wasn't in a relaxed state that night, so I didn't bother picking these, and I lost a bowl of beans. And I'm totally cool with that. I'll get over it just fine. I got a lot of beans this summer. Here's some strawberries still producing. This is a day neutral variety, and it will give yields into October, I found. Let's see, there's, right, this is for those that don't believe, right, there's a strawberry. There's a red one there. All right. Jeez. This wasp just landed on my arm. Oh, there's a rotten one. That's not good. Hey, we can still get flowers, right? But we just picked a bunch the other day, so there's not a lot left. Pretty slim pickings. But there's another area where I've got some of these growing. Anyway, great variety to grow for here. And I still got some onions growing here. I jammed some onion seed in with these, and it's still growing, believe it or not. This garden, which was garlic, and then the whole thing got overtaken by a squash plant. A week ago, this was just covered in squash leaves, and now there's like nothing. Just this one solitary squash, which is worth noting. You know, the squash hanging off the trees that I showed earlier, the same variety as this. And this wasn't grown vertically, it was grown, I guess you'd say, horizontally. And, geez, this is almost twice the size. So, I really don't think it's worth your while to suspend squash from trees and stuff like that. I think letting them sprawl on the ground is probably better. They probably prefer that. I mean, who knows? It could be because the soil here is better. I doubt that. The soil over there is really good. I think it's just the preference, right? They like to be on the ground. This is that bed that I took down with the machete in that crazy video. There's still potatoes to be harvested here. I've harvested, there's sort of a line right there. So I've harvested from here to here, and the rest over still needs to be harvested. Might do that tonight. I don't know, I'm kind of tired, but we'll see what happens. This bean garden needs to be taken down, but it's completely done. This needs to be taken down. And for those that ask, I don't pull the beans out of the ground. I just cut them off at the base, right? Leave the bean roots in the ground. Whatever nitrogen, whatever nitrogen those beans were able to capture and fix in their roots, you want to leave that in the ground so the beans can improve your soil the way they want to, right? Just help them do the thing they want to do. This garden here was a bean garden, and needs to be sort of weeded and put down for the winter. I should do a video of that because it looks pretty weedy and looks pretty bad, but I think probably in a matter of 10 minutes I can put this thing down for the winter. I think that's all it'll take. There's a little bit of spinach I planted as a fall crop. I should have been a bit more aggressive. So for me, where I am here in Nova Scotia, Canada, really if you're going to plant something like a spinach for a fall crop, we're at the end of September, beginning of October now. You know, it's the mid to late August is when you want to plant something to get a fall crop. That's when I planted these. I didn't plant enough, and they got attacked by slugs, and I was really kind of lackadaisical in dealing with it, so I didn't get as much as I should have. If I'd invested 5 more minutes of energy, this whole bed, I'm not lying, 5 more minutes of energy, this whole bed could have been spinach, and I love fresh spinach. There's nothing even close. What this tastes like compared to what you can buy in those big plastic containers, not even close. And setting aside the fact that it's a lot cheaper to do it this way. Look at these big, look at, compared to my hand, right? Big, lush, beautiful leaves. Tasty, right? They don't mind the cold. But you got to get them in the ground mid to late August. And because it's so dry that time of year, you got to water them a bit. You got to baby them a little bit. Right? That you have to water. I haven't watered anything in this whole garden since the middle of July. But if you're going to do fall crops, yeah, you got to turn the hose on. You got to water them because it's dry that time of year. At least that's my experience. I said I was going to show you some more strawberries. I guess nice, beautiful ones here. Right, it's a nice big one. And just in case you think you can't. That one's been attacked by something, but it still looks okay. For those that think there's different varieties of strawberries. There's certain kinds that you know give their entire crop in June. They're called June bearers, right around the end of June here. But there's other kinds like these day neutrals that sort of give you crop in late spring, and they give you a crop in the fall, and they even give you some intermittently throughout the summer if it doesn't get too hot. That's the kind I like because I like having a steady supply. These are some more than I moved. I said I was going to show you what spinach looks like with a bit of frost. Looks like that. Right? That's frost. Right? Usually attacks the lower ones. So I mean the smart thing to do is to just remove all those. Right? Remove all of them. Like that. Don't let the plant invest any more energy in the bad leaves. But really this time of year, if you've got any sort of spinach going, that's what you should be eating. Don't leave it to chance. The frost is going to get it, so you should get it before the frost does. Right? Adjust your diet and eat your greens. The kale's fine, but spinach cannot take too much cold. Or sorry, not spinach. Swiss chard cannot take too many cold nights. They can't take too many hard frosts. These beefsteak tomatoes have still not ripened. You know, for this part of the world, these kinds of, they grew great. And they got a bit of red on this one. I'm going to pick a bunch of these. I'm out here tonight. That's what I'm here for tonight. I'm going to pick a bunch of tomatoes. Got a bit of red on this one and a bit of red on this one, so it can probably come inside. But these tomatoes that take a long time to ripen and stuff, you know, 100-day tomatoes, they're really not the best plan for this part of the world. Out here, outside the garden enclosure, these tomatoes that all I did was tip these over. And I've covered them a few times when we had frost, but I got a lot of nice red ones here, right? Plants don't look like much, but they're still producing. I got lots of beautiful, let's pull this out here. You know, lots of beautiful red tomatoes, right? So I got to pick all these tonight. So this garden was great. I literally just stuck some transplants in the ground and did nothing, and they grew. Here's the other tomato garden here. Right, this is tomato and there's a bit of squash. But these are ready to come out. They're pretty much done. And I still got this beautiful, this was a potato garden here. The last potatoes I put in the ground, you can tell the potato plants are completely done. It's ready to be picked. There's lots of potatoes in here. Don't have to do too much work to find them, right? Lots of potatoes. Anyway, that's where we are at the end of September, beginning of October. Garden looks like it's been hit by a cataclysm, but that's just fall. No big deal. There's still lots of things growing and there's still lots to do. And I think a lot of people think like fall's like the end. There's a lot of things to do in the fall. And I gotta say, I got a lot of projects in the works. I rented a truck this weekend to bring in a bunch of different kinds of materials, some building materials, and I just went down to the beach today and got some seaweed. I got a lot of things I want to do this fall. I try to get as much done in the fall as I possibly can as the garden's shutting down to get it ready for the next year, so there's less to do in the spring. So, and I would encourage you to do the same thing. Fall is a fantastic time of year to be out in the garden, for me especially, because there's no mosquitoes, there's no black flies, there's no horse flies, there's no deer flies, right? So I can get a lot of things done. And it's also nice and cool, and it's the right temperature to work and get stuff, you know, use your hands and get physical. It's a great time to be out working in the garden. So there's lots left to do, and lots of video ideas coming up soon, so stay tuned. I hope this little tour gave you some good ideas about you know, where you are in the fall and how to make sense of what's going on. And if you enjoyed the content, please like, share, subscribe. Check out my podcast, maritimegardening.com. Until next time, get out there, get at it, have fun in your garden. Thanks for watching.